Nvidia briefly touching an all-time high this week. Now, the stock has certainly been on a tear. This year alone, it's up over 160%. The street remaining very bullish on the chip maker. 64 analysts have a buy or outperform rating on the stock. One of those analysts joining us now, we want to bring in Matt Bryson. He's Wedbush Equity Research Hardware Senior Vice President. It's great to see you again, Matt. So talk to us just about this massive run-up that we've seen in Nvidia. Clearly lots of focus just about the emphasis and the impact that it is having clearly overall on the broader market. What makes you so confident that this momentum is going to continue? And I guess, what do you think that opportunity really looks like?
Yeah, so in the near term, it's all good news, right? They came out in late May, gave us great numbers, gave a great guide. But since then, you've seen new funding for startups in the AI space. The funding numbers are large, so you're talking numerous $1 billion going to places like XAI. Eventually, most of that money gets spent either renting data center space or building data center space. So lots of NVIDIA chips. You've seen news around government funding. And that's all additive to what the cloud service providers are spending. And so if everyone's spending on AI, just things look really good. At some point, I think we need more AI applications to show up. But having said that, I think everyone's made a bet through NVIDIA's next platform, Blackwell, which means things remain good well into next year.
AI has been generating headlines, as well as enhanced computing capabilities in recent months. Since generative AI took off with the launch of ChatGPT in 2022, it took over both the tech world and the broader economy by storm. The impact of AI has been felt in everything from supercomputing and semiconductor chip making to language translations. This opened up many opportunities for investors, and Nvidia stock stood out as the best AI play in the market, as the company makes the GPUs that power AI models. According to the market analysis company Grand View Research, the AI market may hit $1.8 trillion by 2030, a far cry from its $137 billion value in 2022. On the other hand, Wedbush Securities predicts that AI spending will make up between 8% and 10% of IT budgets by the end of this year. Nvidia owns 80% of the AI GPUs market, so it's perfectly positioned to capitalize on this expected growth, and as it continues to expand, Nvidia is making sure that it remains on top. In fact, it was recently announced that Nvidia will sell its advanced AI processors to Middle Eastern countries, marking the company's entry into a brand new market. In today's video, we're going to talk about what this means for Nvidia and Nvidia stock investors. But before we do that, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video.
I mean, when we talk about this chip demand, is there a good ballpark figure that investors should be going off of in their minds about where these data centers that are being built out will eventually move to in terms of the number of chips that are necessary to really support the applications and the generative AI demand that we're seeing?
So that's a difficult number to come up with. What we're really seeing right now is companies making a bet that the next set of applications that change the world are going to be built on AI. So there's lots of training of these large language models going on, and that's building out the infrastructure that these applications can get built on. I think at the end of the day, the AI opportunity is going to depend on what those applications look like. So if we get self-driving cars built on AI, that changes the world. That needs a ton of investment. If we get something like the next YouTube or the next TikTok or the next Uber built on AI, again, that changes the world. We need a ton of investment. But it's really what that next set of applications look like that we don't know. And that's going to define what the market looks like past this investment and training that we're seeing right now.
Man, when we talk about the next catalyst for NVIDIA, there's been lots of talk, lots of focus on the upcoming shareholder meeting later on this month. Is that going to provide another boost to the stock, and how come?
I don't know if the shareholder meeting changes much. I think that what the next kind of significant catalyst is, they'll have a fall GTC meeting. That will certainly be interesting. They have numbers before then. Those will be interesting. But I think it's really what we see that comes out of Blackwell. So that, in my mind, begins shipping late this year into next. That's going to define what the next step for NVIDIA looks like. But again, there's just really, really strong demand till then. So I don't see any stumbling points kind of through the course of 2024.
When the US first introduced its latest export control rules for advanced AI processors, it not only restricted sales of these advanced processors to Chinese companies, it also restricted them to multiple countries in the Middle East. However, according to a new report from Reuters, NVIDIA believes that it can get an export license to sell its AI GPUs to a telecom giant operating in multiple Middle East countries. In fact, the chipmaker has entered into a deal with Ooredoo to introduce its AI technology in data centers into 5 Middle Eastern countries. This collaboration signifies NVIDIA's first major expansion in a region where the US has restricted exports of advanced AI processors, which is incredible news for investors because it could open up a door for NVIDIA to try and sell its most powerful GPUs in China again, as the country was once one of the company's most important markets and accounted for as much as a quarter of NVIDIA's data center revenue. However, we should keep in mind that it's unclear which GPUs NVIDIA will supply to its partners in the Middle East, and the value of the deal also remains undisclosed. So, this deal might end up being all about the less powerful GPUs, which NVIDIA has been trying to get into the Chinese market with. But this deal is still amazing news because of how established NVIDIA's new partner is. Ooredoo will now offer NVIDIA's AI GPUs in its data centers located in Qatar, Algeria, Tunisia, Oman, Kuwait, and the Maldives. But what does this mean for NVIDIA and Nvidia stock? Let's find out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Investocracy.
Let's talk about whether or not this big technology trade can get any more momentum than it already has.
Yeah, well, look, as you mentioned, leading up to this segment, NVIDIA was up 38% in the quarter to date. They have added 100 and something percent to their market cap since the beginning of the year, and they're just surging. So eventually the law of large numbers catches up to you, right? $1 trillion in market cap since February. That's going to be very difficult to keep up the pace. But can they keep selling and can they keep growing? Absolutely. And they're really leading the charge here.
What exactly then is the case to be made, Alex, for investors to keep looking towards companies like NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Apple? We know the AI story is big for the mega cap tech trade, but there have got to be other companies that are maybe not as covered, that are the ones who could see some of those similar types of gains even after NVIDIA has posted a banner decade at this par.
Dom, look, I think the concentration is going to continue to be in the large caps, and that's because this is really a game of scale. The bigger you are, the more money you have, the more GPUs you can buy, the bigger models you can train. And the more resources you throw at this problem, generally the better results that you're going to get. And that's why we've seen the concentration in the largest companies, the NVIDIAs, the Amazons, the Metas, and the Googles, right? And I think that continues. The smaller upstarts, they might be able to draft off of this wave, right? That's why earlier in the show, we were talking about how travel might see a bit of a boost. But the big gains, I still think that's going to come from the biggest companies.
In a time when AI is in high demand all over the world, this new development between NVIDIA and Ooredoo positions the telecom company as the region's first company to offer such services to its clients, granting them a significant competitive edge in deploying generative AI applications. The telecom giant's CEO, Aziz Al-Othman Fakhru, highlighted that this agreement will allow their business clients to access services that their competitors might not have for another 18 to 24 months. Ooredoo is investing $1 billion to expand its regional data center capacity by 20 to 25 additional megawatts, adding to its current 40 megawatts, according to Reuters. The company aims to nearly triple its capacity by the end of the decade, reflecting its commitment to install substantial computing capacity, and as its chosen partner for data centers, Nvidia will clearly benefit from this. And if Nvidia's partnership with Ooredoo pays off, many other Middle Eastern companies will choose to partner up with Nvidia. According to consultancy PwC, the region's future slice of the world's AI market will be 2%, or around $320 billion by 2030. Yet this was predicted about 6 years ago, before the region attracted billions and sealed partnerships with major Western tech leaders such as Oracle and Amazon. Most recently, in April, Microsoft entered a $1.05 investment and partnership with the UAE's leading AI entity G42. So, Nvidia entering this market is great news for investors, and as it works to expand and increase its partnerships with Middle Eastern companies, its revenues will definitely increase, and so will its stock price. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
So is NVIDIA the thing that you look at and go, well, this could spoil the party, i.e. it becomes too much of a good thing. It really starts to lift into some kind of bubble, draws people into the market, really extends valuations, then we have to clean up the mess.
There's a lot of people trying to top tick NVIDIA, saying that they don't want to own it because it's expensive, but it's a 30 PE stock that sells something that no one else actually produces in the world.
The one thing it's not is expensive.
Yeah. So I'd say I'd feel very differently if if we were discounting NVIDIA being larger than global GDP and at 100 PE, and everyone's saying there's no way it can be stopped. But because everyone wants to sell NVIDIA and try to call a top, I actually think there's still a lot of upside.
When I hear anecdotes, like I heard at a fundraising thing the other night about how all the local kids own NVIDIA, what should I think when I hear that kind of information?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, NVIDIA is the largest stock, so everyone should own it. It's almost like if someone said, I'm selling because everyone owns the S&P. Everyone should own some S&P. It's really a bearish sign when someone says the S&P won't ever go down. And I only hear people saying the S&P's topping right now.
I do remember people saying stocks never go down a couple of years ago. Then we finally had a correction. I think we've had a couple maybe since then. What kind of paradigm are we in now? We hear people saying, like Mark Zandi did, well, the Fed needs to cut because otherwise the economy could take a turn for the worse. We know rates are probably higher than they need to be. Do you need to have a view on Fed rate cuts in order to support stocks continuing to move higher?
To an extent, I think that the big lesson for the last 2 years is the S&P has endured some pretty severe rate hikes. So we know companies are managing this cycle well. If the Fed turns neutral or dovish, that's even more positive for stocks. So I think that the environment for equities still is good because they survived a stress test. It's only bad if the Fed has to raise rates.
Nvidia stock pulled off an impressive growth spurt since the beginning of 2023, as the stock is up more than 700%. This success saw it surpass Microsoft and Apple as the world's most valuable company, achieving a market cap above $3.3 trillion. But that was brief, as the stock pulled back when investors started taking profits. The chipmaker undoubtedly created many millionaires on its way to the top spot and shows no signs of slowing, suggesting it's not too late to make a long-term investment in Nvidia. For years, Nvidia was best known for its role in the video games market, with its GPUs becoming the go-to for millions of consumers custom-building powerful gaming PCs. While the company is still very active in gaming, the focus shifted to Nvidia's efforts in AI. And despite increased competition, Nvidia maintains an estimated 80% market share in AI chips, indicating massive growth potential as the sector develops. But that's not everything, because in addition to AI, Nvidia supplies its chips to game consoles, self-driving cars, cloud platforms, and more. The chipmaker has growth catalysts across tech and will likely continue to reward investors for years. Despite recent growth, Nvidia's price-earnings-to-growth ratio remains at less than 1, suggesting its stock is of value and worth picking up on the dip. But what do you think about Nvidia stock? Is it a buy at the current price? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to tell us what your valuation for Nvidia is. If you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, Go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.